One thing we were talking about earlier is around the way that CISOs currently procure and they currently find out what technology they need. We were having a really interesting conversation about something that you're doing within DC, and tell me a bit more about what that is as well. That sounds really interesting.
Absolutely. So we've in the background quietly been building away a security web intelligence platform.
Okay.
In fact, the name is Security Web Intelligence, aka Jenny.
Okay.
And Jenny we're launching her very early next year. She's a unsupervised machine learning indexing platform, if you will. She uses the World Wide Web as her playground. She will she has found over 4,000 cybersecurity vendors currently. In fact, we've had to stop her finding because we've got a bit of a backlog just trying to validate some of these companies. That information then comes back to the actual platform itself. It's then indexed against 32 different categories. So an example of categories may be firewall security vendors, application security vendors, antivirus companies, and so on and so forth. And we present that information on that technology provider to the world. And we collect a whole bunch of data points on that company. So some of the data points may be what awards your technology company has won, what accreditations you have, if your technology maps against a certain compliance and helps achieve a certain regulation, or certainly at a security control level. We allow you to upload your data sheets. So there's about 14 data points which you can find instantly.
Right.
And then also compare the market up to 3 technologies.
And what do you think that's going to mean for CISOs and CIOs in the future? Where's the big value in doing that compared to the way we currently do things?
Sure. So I guess at that point I should say this product, this solution, Jenny, whilst it was my idea, it was actually been driven by CISOs. So what I'm about to say are actual CISO challenges and CISO problems. And so the net outcome is where the market is. Right. So look, the obvious one is saving time, right? It's not the CISO who actually goes out there and does the research. It's his team. It's the security analyst within that specific area. Saving time for them, instantly being able to find information in one consolidated place to this level of detail, it's not out there, right? You get a global view, right? So we were talking to a big telco provider, and their challenge is they operate globally. They've got different security officers in each market. They've got different cost centers. How do you find what technology is available in that country? Instantly. It's a hard ask. As a group function, they can literally go to Jenny, there's a platform, and they can find what technology is there in that space. Okay. The other interesting thing that came out of it was for new security companies, and they're the ones we really want to be supporting here. This is what this thing was built for, is it gives them a voice in the market space and helps educate the markets, and not just in security, in all the market. So SME as well as corporates. Remember, corporates have half a chance, right? SMEs, where do they go? They have to go to their IT provider, right? So they can instantly get a view on what technologies are there and what service providers are there, right? So from an instant perspective, you've got a whole load of data points that you can draw upon, which is, well, it's not out there at the moment, right? And then the functional features, which one of my favorites is you can create a report instantly on everything you found and WhatsApp it to your team, and you've got a view. The reports can also be then sent to the board, because there's steering committees and exec boards, and to be able to present your findings pretty quickly is one good thing. The other way of looking at it is from a procurement perspective. Some of this engine's been built by procurement. Procurement are often the last people to get bought into looking for a technology. In fact, even understanding what a technology is. So a procurement person can go on to Jenny. They can self-educate. They can understand what it is. They can get a view on the market of providers in their space, in their country, in their industry. And again, put that in a report and take that proactively to the security team or IT team, as opposed to it being the other way around, which is what it is often.
And how do you think how do you think we look at the market, say, in 10 years' time? How different will it be? What do you think the massive things are going to be changed between now and, say, 2040, 2030?
If I can go by our experience of what we found, and if you go, I'm not a cricket guy, but I'm going to use the run rate analogy here. If we use the run rate and what Jenny's found, the market's just going to get more busier with the different threat vectors that are coming through. You're going to get micro niche, more and more granular, very cool cybersecurity tech firms spinning up who will address that single problem. And it's just going to get busier and busier.
That's really hard. That's even more vendors for people to figure out and to find and to manage.
Yeah, right.
Makes it even harder.
It is even harder. Hence, when we created Jenny, the idea was to look at the future, not for what we have today. We all know,
but we want to consolidate. Surely we want fewer vendors and less tech. We want one single pane of glass for everything, right? I mean, is that not the goal?
Yeah, listen, if you look at the way, some Microsoft are coming into this space, and it does work, right? However, arguably, if you talk to enough CISOs, and we know this, right? Do they want to put all their eggs in one basket, right? No. It's whilst it's one pane of glass, it's also one single point of failure, which we know, right? So, yes,
balance, isn't it?
It's getting the balance, and it's also what the appetite is for that individual organization from a risk perspective and also from a commercial perspective. We would all like to, I'm sure, if we could, you'd like to give it to one company and they'll just deal with the whole thing. The reality of it is that's not a
and also the reality
solution.
is usually those vendors that claim they do a bit of everything that ends up being a little bit bad at all of it. You want the specialists.
You're seeing a lot of big pure play companies, a lot of outsourcers who are technology companies coming into our space, right? You're seeing a lot of, and that's the big guys. Then you've got a lot of IT companies who typically do your managing and hosting of your desktops and printers, now all of a sudden spinning up a security practice. In fact, some I know are even coming into the consulting world. It's interesting, right? So do you really want to hedge your bets with those guys? Whilst I get it, cost efficiencies, they already host and manage your infrastructure. Do you want to give them your IT security? Or do you want to go to a pure IT security provider? And there's plenty of them out there who actually can, that's what they do. That's what we do day in, day out. And the same applies to what we're seeing with security technology companies as well. They are now offering SaaS-based services and managed service themselves, right? And feeding APIs into your SIEM solution or whatever it may be, your overarching one pane of glass. So we are seeing a lot of that. And clearly there's 4,000 of them out there, right? So it'll be interesting. It's a great question. What will happen in the next 25 years? It's going to get busier. I know that much. And as the emerging markets start to become mature, it's only going to get busier, right? I think there's a great opportunity for every single vendor out there.
How do you think the role of the CIO or the CISO is going to change? So apart from sort of what's going to happen to security, what's that role? What's the role going to change? How's that role going to evolve?
I've got to try and take my CISO aligned opinions out here, because I hang out with too many of them now to know the challenges they have with the board, the challenges of them not being recognized enough.
Getting better though, right? I mean,
I don't know how many CISOs actually are on the board. They're still on the periphery, right? And that is a problem for these guys, right? One thing we are seeing is a lot of millennial CISOs coming through the ranks, and the way they're doing things is very different, right? Okay.
In what way, out of interest? What way?
So their journeys are different as well. So they're more open to using technology. They're more open to talking about technology. They're more open to talking about their problems in an environment which typically traditional CISOs, aren't necessarily
It's a generation thing. I can see how that would
Yeah,
be.
kind of, right? And I'm in my mid-40s, so I kind of straddle
Yeah.
that generation, but then we also work with CISOs who are, you know, the millennial CISOs.
Yeah.
And if you can find the balance and get them all in a room, actually you'll see that it's quite an exciting time, right? They are a lot more out there, social media-wise, right? And they're building their networks and their experience and their brands, right? Which, if you think about, it makes sense. We're all doing it in this day and age. In the next 15, 20 years, there's also going to be jobs which aren't around today, right? So I don't think we're anywhere near the CISO going anywhere. I'm hoping we see more CISOs on the board. I'm hoping more boards recognize the challenges they have, because it's a very stressful job.
It is a very stressful job.
You know, it's an extremely stressful job. And
because why is the tenure so short? I mean, what's your view on that?
I don't think it's because of technology per se. I think it's because of a disconnect because of the CISO themselves, who want to go into an organization and do progressive things. Right? We want to do this, we want to do this, this is the way we can do this, and then the business is not ready for it, right? It may not be the board per se, it may be the actual company, their direction, they're not ready for it. So all of a sudden there's a bit of a fallout, right? Then the other challenge we find is CISOs get into organizations and actually the budgets just aren't there for it, right? You're picking up the fallout of the previous CISO, right? And so all of a sudden you've got this legacy technology, and we all invest in technology because we think that's the answer. These guys will come in, they will pick up that, and then they'll have to run with it through the life cycle because this has been invested in. And that causes challenges and problems because that's not necessarily the right thing to do. So, you know, CISOs, it's, we're going to see a lot more CISOs. And I'm hoping we see a lot of change and we're all a little bit more collaborative. And we're seeing that, right? Well, I think we're seeing that.
Absolutely.
You know, they're opening up. The new wave of CISOs are really opening up to everybody.